He's filthy rich and never has to work again, yet Paul Hogan has just done what he swore he'd never do, a third Crocodile Dundee. Crocs 1 and 2 made over $1 billion, and that's a hard act to follow. Not that Hoges is too bothered. He reckons with a baby son and a beautiful wife, life couldn't be better. We first met Paul in 1984 when the larrikin Aussie matched wits with George Negus. What neither knew then is that George's son Serge would end up playing Paul's son in his latest film. So it seemed appropriate that George, who's been generously loaned to us by the ABC, should do this interview with Hoges and wife Linda at their home in Possum Creek near Byron Bay.
To this long-time acquaintance, it's the old Hoges. But in any number of ways, maybe it isn't. Whatever, from Lightning Ridge to LA, from Belrose to Byron, from very poor to very rich,
G'day, love.
from Sydney's suburban irrelevance to international notoriety, by anyone's standards, even his own, for 20-odd years now, it's been one hell of a trip. And amazingly, at 60, it's not over yet.
For the last time we did this, I don't know whether I should tell you, 16 years ago, you hadn't met Linda. Mick Dundee didn't exist.
No, that's right.
Chance wasn't even a glimmer in your eye.
And we were both sort of young and kind of cute.
But you and me?
You and me.
I mean, you were still slipping shrimps on the barbie.
Yeah.
I mean, as your old mate Hoges would say, you've come a bloody long way, son. I mean, is that how you see it?
Yeah. But it's not a radical step. As I've always said, the big step to me was to go from the Harbour Bridge to television. And if you can do that in one sort of step, everything else is easy.
What about all that romantic stuff about this being the ultimate wedding gift for Linda?
No, it's probably true. I'm a romantic kind of guy, too.
Hadn't noticed.
This is the place Hoges once described as the most expensive weekender in the world. The Italianate rural retreat. Out of place and just a bit over the top. But don't hold your breath waiting for Hoges to agree with that. After all, he's never been an apologist for either his success or his taste.
Everybody got a shock when you built a Tuscan villa in the middle of the Australian
I know.
Yeah, oh, that was after a trip to Italy.
But when it's really hot, everybody comes and sits in our house because it's cool.
Exactly.
It wasn't that
Hogan
silly.
is a fine old Italian name.
It is, yes. Hogono.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an awful thing to say, but, it's a long way from Granville.
Oh, it's a long way from it.
Is it a long
It's
way
not an
from
awful
Connecticut?
thing to say.
It is.
I used to get that all. I said, you'll lose your touch of your roots and everything. I thought, I look like an idiot still living in Granville and driving a 1958 Volkswagen. And I would be the sort of the weird reclusive hermit that I'm sometimes supposed to be.
But would you say this is the closest to home for you, Paul?
Oh, this is base, yeah. So
You use the word base, not home.
we were talking about, that's homes in here.
Yeah. I feel like I'm being shown around by the real estate agent, Paul.
High ceilings, you don't need air conditioning.
Water glimpses.
You'd be very happy here, George.
By the way, you can snap up this ornate bit of Italian architecture among the camphor laurels at Possum Creek for a quiet $7 million.
So where's Robin Leach? Is he joining us shortly?
You had a line about that, though, didn't you?
Yes, this was welcome to the lifestyles of the rich and tasteless.
Well, money can't buy taste.
Yeah.
Are you talking about us?
Hello.
I'm embarrassed because all the furniture is very late 80s.
Yeah.
And if we lived here, I would. Now he's going to show. This was really hot in 89. Everybody had it.
They say, in their own words, that they're not aggressively trying to flog the place. If you ask me, another sign of their ambivalence about where they call home these days.
So how do you feel about all those types who say that you've sold Australia out, you don't really want to live here, that you've become seduced by the Yanks and that sort of stuff?
Well, everyone's entitled to their opinion, even idiots, And that's it. It's just because an idiot has access to a newspaper and can write it in there doesn't make it any more than still the opinion of an idiot, I'd like to see or meet the person that writes down and says that, I'm no longer an Australian. Yeah. It's sort of like you put a kangaroo in the zoo in San Diego, he's still a kangaroo,
The movie Crocodile Dundee in LA speaks for itself. Thanks, Tony. And like the other two earlier Crocs, anyone who takes it...
You said you wouldn't do another one, then you thought about it again, then you said you wouldn't. Now you have. I mean, it's more flip-flops than John Howard.
Yeah. But you didn't get to vote for me, viewers. You just stuck with me.
But
And I did, of course, I can. It was too good a funny idea to pass up on. And I sort of missed Mick, and I wanted to inject him into Los Angeles, which is the most weird, sophisticated, slick sort of publicly known city on the face of the earth.
Yeah. Well received and made a heap of dough.
Mm-hmm.
Croc 2 wasn't very well received and made a heap of dough.
Mm-hmm.
But Croc 3.
Well, Croc 1 wasn't critically acclaimed either. Croc 1 only became critically acclaimed by the people who bagged the second one. And they'd say, unlike the first one, which was a masterpiece or, you know, it's now a classic or whatever, I thought, wait a minute, when it came out it wasn't. It was a bit of Aussie rubbish. You know, so the critical acclaim's not what they're about. This is just, the further adventures of Mick Dundee, looking at the world through his eyes. They go on a trip with him. They have a good time and laugh.
Bigger than Negus kid, as Charlie Woolley said to you.
Oh, God, I thought he'd ask this. He was very good.
I'm his father, remember?
Fortunately, he inherited his mother's charm. And on him, we'll have him.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
That's nice to know.
And I'll say that to anyone who asks me. It's not just for you.
But
I never did like you much, George, anyway, so I'm not trying to cozying up to you. Kid's a prince. A few scratches on the head. That lived in Bushy, look.
Hoges has his own grown family, of course, from his earlier life. Now Linda and he have the makings of another.
Oh boy, we're in luck.
Look at that.
I got a big rock.
You got one?
Big rocks right in. Whoa!
Chance might be the Hogan Kozlowski little bloke's cute name, but he was actually quite deliberate.
In a funny
He's a big one.
What do you reckon? Would you classify him as an Australian-American or an American-Australian?
He's a Yozzie. A Yank Aussie.
Aussie.
Yeah, he's got 2 passports.
But is that a dilemma? I mean,
No,
what he is, his identity and all that?
no, I think he'd be back here going to school before he develops a Yank accent.
Really? He's another life for you, isn't he?
Oh, he is, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a little treasure.
Well, Paul said that in fact he felt that the Australian stability was the word that he used would probably make it a better place for Chance to grow up.
Well, certainly having a baby now makes you think of those aspects too. And you know, back at home, there's like all the schools. There's all these shootouts and guns, and it's just like the Wild West, only for little kids.
Talking of the Wild West, Chance called her Hogan. What a moniker! I mean, where did you get that from?
The Calder's not mine, the Chance is partly mine. That's out of a Larry McMurtry Western.
Really?
Yeah, it's a cowboy name.
Kind of a
Chance.
cowboy name. It was the only one we could agree
I mean, the
on.
days of Paul and George and Fred are over now.
That's
I mean,
probably
you
true.
Look around at the kids' names, including yours and all of mine. It's sort of,
Yeah.
it's just, that's a dying
His best
tradition.
friend his 2 best friends are Stone and Jai.
Oh, I must go put it in a bucket and dump it out.
Just the proud and doting parents standing by.
To overstate the bleeding obvious, they're both besotted by young Chance.
Wow.
And you could easily get the idea that they quite like each other too. But being Paul Hogan's wife or his son was never going to be all beer and skittles.
In this country, you know, if I've been on the cover of magazines topless and bending over, and she's fat, she's skinny, she's pregnant, she's a pig, she's old, she's young. I mean, I'm so over. I'm a bimbo. I'm stupid. You know, nobody knows my background or what schools I went or what my education was. Don't care. They've decided to do all this. And in the beginning, when I first came here, I was freaked out, of course. I had just married this guy. We built this house. And I was going, oh my God, your country really doesn't want me there.
Wouldn't blame you for having second thoughts.
Yeah. And so no, I just, no, not that one. Didn't bug me that much, but obviously I was kind of freaked out about it. No,
she looked at me and sort of went, oh.
Yeah. You're giving me some bad press. I'm out of here.
Is this such a good idea after all?
But no, I don't. I'm so over all that now. I don't care what they say.
Well, if you're not
That's
over
why, I mean,
after
I have no fear.
11 years, I mean, you know, you've had plenty of time to have second thoughts.
That's true.
Now, I've got to ask you this. Facelift, and I know that your answer is, I wish I could answer that question once and for all, and the answer is no.
Hey.
What I really wanted to ask is, what do you think of mine?
Yours is very good.
Yours is better than mine.
Yeah. I mean,
the worst part of the facelift story was that then, and they'd had funny photos of me in the paper. And I'd go and do interviews and people go, facelift didn't work out, you know. I know they seized on that for the thing about Gone Hollywood. Hoges has gone Hollywood.
So how do you handle that ridiculous extreme of being bagged on the one hand, but knowing also that everybody, billions throughout the world know you and probably admire you? I mean, how do you live with that?
Well, that thing, you can never be a prophet in your hometown, type of thing. I was struck by that. It's not peculiar to Australians either. When I was in Scotland doing some interviews, and I'd met Billy Connolly a couple of times. He's a ripper bloke and very funny too.
Very funny, man.
And I mentioned him, and they said, "Oh well, he's not really Scottish anymore. He's sort of sold out." Well, he's the only funny Scotsman in the world, for God's sake. So they were shooting him down. They said, "You're idiots. He's your greatest export."
Action! Hey, Dad, look. There's those girls from Baywatch.
Whatever else you think of our Hoges, there's no disputing he's our greatest movie export ever. But while his mate Mick's been busy fending off LA's natural predators...
What are you doing in the pub?
I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
The man himself is just hanging out in a far more familiar habitat at home.
Wanted to see how good you could throw rocks.
No, I don't want.
You don't want to now. No, we've done enough of that.
I get the feeling, by the way, that you're a bit homesick, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Get it right sometimes.
Yeah, that's the amateur psychoanalyst in me, but you are, aren't you? I mean,
Oh, yeah. People should, particularly people who sort of make criticism of Australia or who pontificate loudly and don't know what they're talking about, should be made to go and live in another country for a while. You come home and go, this is why it's called the lucky country.
So, speaking of the future as we were, or as I was, Croc 4?
Highly unlikely. I'm not
We've
allowed
heard that before.
I'm not allowed to say never.
What do you think, Linda?
I don't
I mean,
think,
if it bombs,
Then there
Croc
won't
3.
be a 4.
So
Look, I just
that
made a funny movie, and you go and see it and enjoy it, or don't.
Yep.
Or go and, if you really dislike me, go and see it anyway, and boo at the screen. I'll get $1 out of you.
Hello, I'm Tom Steinford. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia. Subscribe to our channel now for brand new stories and exclusive clips every week. And don't miss out on our extra minutes segments and full episodes of 60 Minutes on 9now.com.au, as well as the 9Now app.